The 27th UN Conference of Parties on Climate Conservation came to a close on Sunday with the hard-fought deal to create a Loss and Damage Fund or LDF. The fund will help poorer countries being battered by climate disasters. The LDF is being seen by many as a major victory. Ulka Kelkar, Director of Climate at World Resources Institute India, says,
"All in all, I would say that the Loss and Damage Fund was something which India expressed solidarity with other poor developing countries. And it was a sign of the unity of the G77 group, the group of 77 developing countries, that this fund became a reality at this COP. At the beginning of this COP just 2 weeks ago, the rich countries were not even wanting to put it on the agenda to even discuss. And so it is quite a victory that by the end of it, a fund was created.
Finer details on the LDF were, however, missing, especially in regard to the funding. The official UN statement pointed to the institutional arrangements of the Santiago Network for averting, minimizing and addressing loss and damage associated with the adverse effects of climate change to enable its full operationalization. Not many rich countries supported the need for the fund, but several developing economies, especially African and South Asian nations, clamored for it. It was only the European Union that made an extraordinary intervention on the penultimate day of the negotiations, agreeing to provide financial help to poor countries facing climate extremes. Though India supported the final implementation plan, its key demand to include all fossil fuels for phase down was not considered. The Indian delegation, citing the 6th assessment report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, said there is a need for a phase down for all fossil fuels in the context of a clean energy transition. Harjeet Singh of Climate Action Network International explains,
India placed a very specific demand that in the final agreement, we should include all fossil fuels, which was supported by a number of developing, especially vulnerable, as well as a few developed countries. But at the same time, we saw that while Europe, UK, and US played lip service to that demand, but the reality remains that back home, they have been expanding their fossil fuel investments. Also in the context of Russian war in Ukraine, where we see Europe in particular investing for fossil fuel expansion in Africa. And we also see UK issuing gas licenses. And US has been the biggest investor on oil and gas in 2022. So I would not call their support to India's call as a serious one.
Most importantly, the agreement from the United States and some other rich countries to sign the proposal comes with the caveat that contributors to the fund will be expanded beyond the developed world. For India, this development is objectively a net negative. Firstly, there is no reason to support that India, although one of the greatest victims of climate change, will be selected as the recipient of any loss and damage money. The Indian economy is too big for it to be considered. Secondly, there is apprehension that this financing will come at the cost of other forms of climate or development finance, of which India is currently a recipient. The agreement specifies that existing funding arrangements can be repurposed for loss and damage payments, and this threatens flows to India. Moreover, COP27 has pushed a decision on receipts and who pays for the fund down the road to COP28. Even as the agreement proposes a transitional committee to make recommendations on how to operationalize new funding arrangements, the promised $100 billion annual funding by developed nations is yet to become a reality.
What we don't know, of course, is how much money will come in. Some countries have pledged to it. For example, Scotland, Denmark, Austria have made pledges for loss and damage. But it, of course, needs to be much more. And developed countries have been reluctant to now put this issue into the discussions for the post-2025 new climate finance goal. That is, $100 billion that they promised long ago has not come. But going beyond 2025, they don't even want to talk about loss and damage. In fact, they're turning the tables on countries like China, India, Saudi Arabia, and saying, you're rich countries now, you should also pay for loss and damage.
However, Singh points out that this should not be seen as a net negative for India.
It was a demonstration of the power of unity at this COP. Starting with COP26, we have seen the group of G77 in China stayed together and put forth its demand on setting up a loss and damage fund. And that led to this success. And India played an important role. All developing countries are eligible, one, but the first right over loss and damage fund belongs to small island states, vulnerable countries such as least developed countries, as well as Africa.
The establishment of a loss and damage fund is seen as a major victory for India at the COP27 and sends positive signals regarding its diplomatic relations with the G77 and China when it comes to climate issues. However, the fight is not over yet. India will look to strengthen several aspects of the agreement, especially in terms of funding requirements and the accountability of richer nations. For now, the LDF is a reason to celebrate. If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.